Evening, everybody. It's 6:18, and this is your closing comment for Thursday evening at on the last day of the month. And I put it that way because that definitely played a part in what happened here this afternoon. Not so much for the morning. All of the information that came out was pretty much in line. Claims, both initial and continuing. Continuing were a little higher than they have been, solidly above the 1.9 million at 1.9 million 270,000. Um, but personal income, personal spending, PCE, core PCE, all of that stuff was pretty much right on the numbers of what was expected. The only thing that wasn't expected, as I said, was continuing claims. Um, uh, I the chart on the screen is the oil. And I don't know why everybody is surprised to see today's kind of action. It was pretty extreme. The high was 79.60, the low 75.04. So a $4 range, closing, pretty close to the low. But again, we did exactly the same thing we did back here on the 14th, 2.5 weeks ago, where we got up to 79.65 and went through the 200-day moving average and then came back and closed just under it. I told you this morning $80 is going to be a problem. That's pretty much where we got, also through the 200-day moving average, closing on the low. This was all about a disappointment that there weren't further cuts from OPEC plus. Um, the big star today was the Dow. It was a heavily split market and actually not terribly impressive. There were definitely markups for the month end today. Um, the Dow was up 520. 200 points of that was in the last two 15-minute bars. So in the last half hour, the Dow added 200 onto it. NASDAQ was down on the day. Um, and just so you know, on the NYSE, advanced declines were 1.7 to 1. That is really not representative of a $520, 1.5% move up. On NASDAQ, they were only 1 to 1. What did jump up, and primarily, as I said in that last half hour, was the volume at 5.7 billion. The Russell was up 521 or 0.3%, and the transports were up 201.97 or 1.36. So it was really all Dow, the industrials and the transports. You got to love a day where where gold goes down on the day and the silver actually finishes higher. And that's exactly what we had today. The gold was down about $10 after being up $30 overnight. And the silver closed up 22 cents. Not overwhelming, but it's still hanging above that $25. I'm looking for a break to the upside. In stocks, we had CRM, Salesforce, which I told you this morning was half of the Dow's opening gain. It had gotten up to 253. It only got up to 252 and a half in the real world, but it did close 250.48, or it's trading now at 250.48, and that's up $20.13. We had that Immunogen buyout by AbbVie. It's a $31.28 deal. The stock closed 29.29, up 13.23. Pretty impressive, up 82% on that $10.1 billion deal. I told you yesterday morning about Vivos. As I mentioned today, it had moved basically from $11 up 7, up as high as up to 48.79. It closed at 41, up through 36.61, or 834%. Of course, today, um, having gone from $4.39 to $48.79, it wasn't really a big surprise to see it close today at 25.31, down 15, or 46%. I mentioned a little one this morning, Minim. This was a reverse split. It actually had closed at 91 cents last night. It got as high as $10.28. The company came out with a statement that they said they knew no reason for the action in the stock. The last there was, after being 1028, was 379, up 288, or 316%. There is no economic news tomorrow before the open. There are a couple of bits of news. They are, let's see, just get them for you. They are at 9:45. The final November S&P Global U.S. Manufacturing PMI. This is an above or below 50 number. I don't see a consensus, but last month's was 49.4. And at 10 o'clock, we have the November ISM Manufacturing Index. Consensus is 47 and a half. The prior is 46.70. And we also have batting the cleanup, October construction spending. Consensus is up zero point 0.3. The prior was up zero point 0.4. I keep telling you about these low price stocks, and the main reason, aside from if you want to see where the action is going to be, I have a couple of people who have called me and asked me about how to play them. And really, the only way to play them is to decide pretty much how much you want to risk and use a stop when you get there. These things are really, really treacherous. I mean, they're fun to watch and they're fun to trade. I traded that SHOT I mentioned last week for a day, but, I traded 500 shares. I was willing to risk 50 cents. It got to within about 15 cents of my stop, and then reversed. And I think I took $3.79 for it. I think I paid 304 and sold it at 379. So, I mean, you can play them, but be forewarned, this is not unusual. If it goes from 4 to 48 or 49, you better be prepared to understand that it's going to be lower. And if you hold it overnight, it can gap right through you. So be careful out there, folks. I'll be back first thing in the morning.